Dave Chaffee vs Devon Larratt is coming up in just 10 days at King of the Table. I think that the vast majority of people are considering Devon to be the heavy favorite in this match. After all, the much weaker and smaller version of Devon managed to defeat Dave Chaffee 3-1 way back at WAL. Devon is now bigger and stronger than he used to be, and if anything, it seems like Dave is a bit weaker or perhaps more injured than he used to be. So this is going to be an easy win for Devon, right? Well, there are still a lot of factors at play that could swing in the favor of Dave Chaffee. I am considering Devon the heavy on-paper favorite in this match, but Dave is by no means out of the match entirely. This video will cover the reasons that Dave Chaffee may have a better chance of winning than most people think. First, we have to talk about the different table being used at King of the Table. If you did not know, the elbow pads on the WAL table are both longer and more rounded than a standard elbow pad. This allowed Devon to drag further out toward the back of the pad as well as obtaining a stronger angle for the King's move. The rounded pad allows Devon to use the seesaw technique more than a squared off pad would. The second thing about WAL is that the pin pad height is actually 1 inch lower than a standard pin pad. Both of these factors should play in the favor of Dave Chaffee. At King of the Table, Dave does not have to get Devon as low as he did in WAL in order to get a pin, and Devon is going to run out of room to drag back far sooner. And probably the most important factor in this match is that Dave Chaffee has a flop press. For a long time, we didn't really see Dave using the flop press at all, but more recently, Dave has become a bigger fan of it. We saw Dave flop pressing against Vitaly Larratt and having great success with it. Like Vitaly, Devon has a very long arm, meaning that he has mechanical weakness against the flop press. I think that Devon will almost certainly take Dave's hand off the go of this match. However, if Dave can drag Devon outside of his shoulder and get into a flop wrist position, Dave very well may be able to pin Devon. Looking at Hermes Gasparini versus Dave Chaffee, we saw that once Dave was able to get into his flop press, Hermes was unable to pin Dave with a normal surge. Hermes had to adjust and regrip several times and eventually transition to a press in order to pin Dave. So Dave's flop press is clearly very strong. Now, in an interview with Hermes Gasparini on the East vs West YouTube channel, Hermes gave his opinion on this match.
Yeah, like really is good, but like it's impossible to push.
Not possible, yeah.
He want to do this, but he blocked like this. He can't push nothing. 50-50 for me.
Oh, 50-50, that close, huh?
So Hermes is saying he thinks the match is 50-50 if Dave can get into a pronated flop press. However, if Devon can block Dave's pronation, like we saw him do to Gennady in round 1, Hermes said it will be impossible for Dave. Here we see Devon not only taking the wrist of Gennady, or at least keeping it flat, but he also turns Gennady's hand palm up. This leaves Gennady with no option to flop press, but his hook power is also very weak from this position as he is driving directly into Devon's bone line. However, in the restart of this match, we see that if Gennady is able to flop press off the go and knock Devon out of his shoulder line, the match has the opposite outcome. In this moment, we see Gennady in a much more pronated flop press position. I think this match between Devon and Dave will be very similar to Devon and Gennady. Pretty much whoever gets to their spot first should win in theory. Another factor is that Dave may have more horsepower than Gennady does. We did see that when Dave pulled Gennady, he won the first 2 rounds pretty convincingly. So Dave may be a level above Devon in terms of maximal output. However, we also saw that Dave gassed out far quicker than Gennady, and I would put Devon's endurance and efficiency above Gennady's. So I don't know how much that will help Dave. Okay, now that we've talked about Dave's advantages in this match, let's take a look at Devon's. I would say by far the biggest advantage Devon has is that he is now around 30 pounds heavier than the last time he faced Dave. Back at WAL, Devon was the lighter, skinnier arm wrestler and Dave was the heavier, stockier guy. But this time around, Devon is just straight up heavier. Another huge factor is the 6-round format of King of the Table. At WAL, Dave only had to win 3 rounds, and he was not able to do that. At King of the Table, Dave will have to win 4 rounds in a row in order to take the win. That is probably pretty unlikely for Devon to lose 4 rounds in a row. Another factor is that the WAL pads probably didn't make that big of a difference after all. Devon didn't even drag back all the way to the back of the pad at some points in this match with Dave. We also didn't see Dave attempting to come forward and press. He was also dragging back as far as he could, so I don't know that the smaller pads would have done anything for Dave in that match. But to be fair, maybe the reasons Dave didn't attempt to press is because of the small pads. So we will have to see how that plays out at King of the Table. Another huge advantage Devon has in this match is table IQ. One of the reasons Gennady caused Devon so much trouble is because his table IQ may be just as high as Devon's. Gennady did a fantastic job of keeping Devon on his toes and not telegraphing the move he was about to use. This resulted in Devon not knowing what was coming and being caught off guard in multiple rounds. Gennady is also incredibly explosive, where Dave is known for being slower and methodical. I don't see Dave diving into a flop press off the go with the same speed of Gennady. I see Dave's table IQ and speed playing right into the hands of Devon. Let me know who you guys think will take this match, but I think the most likely score is either 4-1 Devon or 4-0 Devon. If Dave does end up getting a pin, I think it will likely be on fouls. I could see Dave getting into his flop press and forcing Devon off the back of the pad, just like we saw versus Gennady, but there is always a chance that Dave's flop press is just too much for Devon. The flop press does pose a very problematic style threat against Devon, so maybe Devon just won't have an answer. Devon may conclude that his open top roll is useless in this match and he will be forced to hook Dave Chaffee, and I really hope that happens because that would be so fun to watch. Regardless of who wins this one or what shape the match takes on, I am really looking forward to it. I think this match is a great comeback opportunity for Dave, and I think it will be a much better test of Devon's progression over the last few years than any other match we've seen. And we are now only 10 days out from Devon versus Dave at King of the Table 7.